You know, sometimes running a business can be quite lonely. When we found each other, it was like we both had this drive and this spark. And so, yes, there was obviously attraction there, but we were also, it was just really comforting to find someone that was on the same page.
Yep.
Emily and Marc are the embodiment of the Aussie battler mentality. Two kind-hearted souls who have worked hard to redefine their relationship with money and overcome hurdles in their business. In this episode, they sat down to talk to me about how they balance their personal and professional relationships, global ambitions, how losing $500,000 was the best thing that's ever happened to them, and the amazing cultural benefits of being open and authentic with your team. Their values of self-improvement and giving back are seriously impressive. I came across their business in my local area and can vouch that they truly put their money where their mouth is. I thoroughly enjoyed their smoothies and making this special episode of It's Never About Money. Happy listening, and don't forget to let me know what you think of Em and Marc's amazing business journey. Thanks, guys. This is actually really exciting because it's a first sort of husband-wife duo business pod that I've done, or episode that I've done. So it's kind of exciting to have you both on, and I appreciate you both coming on.
Thank you for asking us. This is very, very exciting. We're glad to be here.
Excited to be here. This could go sideways, Joe. Like, we've worked together for a while.
I hope I asked the right questions, you know. I don't...
The husband and wife thing is probably a separate podcast in itself.
We'll broach both business and marital relationship issues in the same pod. Let's do it. So how are you both doing, firstly?
We are doing great. Like, life is busy, awesome, fun, challenging. We're doing great. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. As I was telling you before, I'm just moved to Mornington Peninsula, so I'm enjoying life definitely. And I'm super excited to ask about, because as you know, I told you before, I just went to Mornington Nutrition and I had my smoothie from Jess, and I kind of said to Jess, you know, what should I ask Marc and Emily about? And she said, well, you should ask them about the starting situation, about how they met, and also, you know, the fact that Em was running a number of, you know, osteo clinics, and Marc, you owned the gym, and just your background around how it all started for you.
Good question.
How far back do we go, Em? Where would you like to start?
Maybe our first date.
You start going. She wants to tell.
I love the date story.
That really set the scene, to be honest.
I guess the concept before you share the story is how you do anything is how you do everything. How you do anything is how you do everything. And how we met is very indicative of our life today, really, isn't it?
Yeah. And intention is everything, right? So we had known sort of each other, but we'd never, I guess, been friends or acquaintances or anything. We just sort of knew who each other was.
Our paths had never crossed, even though we were from the same area, which is, you know, interesting.
And then it was actually around Christmas time, and, you know, the weather's good, the sun's out, everybody starts, you know, heading out for Sunday sessions and long weekends, and we kept bumping into each other at all these different places. And one day in particular, it was only about 1 p.m. on a Sunday, and so everybody was still pretty cruisy, and one person was already flying, dancing by himself on the podium.
And, it may not have been me.
And I said, oh, you know, there's that guy. I'm pretty sure he's got a gym. And sort of in the back of my mind, I wanted to know more about him, but I did not want to go and approach him at that point in time. And over the coming weeks, we just kept bumping into each other. And look, long story short, I wasn't really looking for a relationship at the time, but he was persistent. He's a very good prospector, and I made him work hard, and eventually we went on our first date. And do you want to tell the story?
And there's probably lots of lessons in this, Joe, like persistence being one, and knowing what you want, and if you want it, go after it. So, you know, I just, Em had an energy about herself, and I'm just like, I need to be around this energy. I know that now. At the time, I was just gravitating towards her. And we were lucky enough, after about 7 weeks of getting, you know, Em allowing me to stay in the game and not quite get her attention. 7 weeks later, I finally got her attention, got the date, got the time. We're there. I'm sitting in front of her and she looks me square in the eye 10 minutes into our first date after I've worked for 7 weeks to even get a snippet of her attention. And she says to me, oh, look, I'm going to live an extraordinary life. So if you're not in for that, let's not do anything. Like, let's end this now. And I just need you to know that I'm up for an extraordinary life. And I looked at her and I smiled and I said, where do I sign?
That's awesome.
And you just know, we talk about, bumping into each other, but we're huge believers in everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. We may not know that reason at the time, but that's the beautiful thing about hindsight. Mm. You can't see the whole picture when you're in the frame, but now it makes total sense as to why we were meant to meet the way we met and why we are where we are today.
Do you think that energy that you talk about with the initial dating experience has translated into the way that you both kind of filter through the business and the franchise that you now run?
No question. Like Em can maybe talk about this, but her energy is people gravitate towards it. Me being one of those. So it's just whether she works at that or whether that's a natural ability. You just want to be around Em. And that definitely translates into our business.
Thank you.
You're doing very well, Marc. I must admit right now.
Solid stuff.
I can understand the attraction. It's good.
But yeah. I think even before we started this current business, we were both busy running our own businesses. So, Marc was running a very successful gym. And again, it was energy. I remember visiting that gym and it wasn't sort of these huge 24/7 cold buildings that we all go into now. It was a community and it was energy. And his energy in that space was what made that business as successful as it was. He'd also been, a professional athlete. So he had a lot of discipline and drive. And here I was doing the same thing over in the osteopathic world. And, sometimes running a business can be quite lonely.
It is.
When we found each other, it was like we both had this drive and this spark. And so, yes, there was obviously attraction there, but it was just really comforting to find someone that was on the same page.
Yep.
And that was, something that we loved brainstorming and we loved working on our businesses. People used to think we were crazy, but we finally found like we had found somebody that understood the crazy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was just really refreshing to find each other. And then we started thinking about, our whole goal is to really help people change their life, to really reach their full potential. And here I am over in the manual therapy world, treating the problems from the outside in. And Marc's trying to help people get strong and work on their fitness. And we were like, imagine if we could do something together. Imagine if we could combine our skills and our passions and make a bigger impact. You're only capped at X amount of clients. I'm only capped at X amount of clients. Our current business models are not giving us the freedom. They weren't giving us time freedom. They weren't giving us financial freedom, not a lot of flexibility. And we were both running, like we were redlining those businesses and there was no potential left in those particular business models. So, and when you actually gain that perspective through, we were doing business seminars and coaching and we stepped back and we're like, damn, we're in the wrong business model. Like, it's cool. It's a great learning, but imagine what we could do together if we take these lessons and we do it a little bit differently. So
in terms of the actual business itself, tell us a little bit more about the business. And you talked about the wrong business model. So now you're in a sort of franchisable business model. Talk to me around, whether you knew that this was a scalable thing from the start or whether it was just by luck that you determined that it was scalable.
Yeah, it's a really good question because one of the things, and we meet a lot of young entrepreneurs now that we just talk life to and business to. And one of the things that we tell them, because we wish we had been told this when we had first started, like I was 21 when I signed my first 5-year lease for a gym. I had really no idea. I'm looking after adults doing business things when reality was I was a kid. And I wish someone had sat me down and told me this. Maybe they did, maybe I didn't listen, who knows? But I wish they had said, look, create the best version of your business 5 years, 10 years down the track. Picture that right now. And the best version of that, would you be happy with that? how much time would you have? How much money would you have? How much impact would you have? What would you look like? What would your health look like? Like, picture it perfect. And if it was going to be that successful, would you in fact be happy with that?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd never really stopped to picture it because I was so caught up in creating this empire and how it would look. Mm-hmm. And of course, the bigger I make it, the busier it gets. Of course, the better it's going to be. Mm-hmm. When the reality is, when you're in it, bigger it sometimes is not better.
So was it that you had this sort of superficial sort of understanding of what you wanted, and you didn't really take the time to really think about who's around you, what it smells like, what it feels like, all that sort of stuff?
I think it was probably a lack of maturity and a lack of education on what it would take to build a business. Okay. Yeah. And I never really looked at the business model, because the business model, which was your original question, is service-based and it was percentage-based. And like, it might have gotten bigger, so the turnover might have grown, but the profits would have stayed the same. You know, because as the charge out rate goes up, the margin stays the same. Like, everything moves together, right? Yeah. So you're going to create this beast. Yeah. But yet there might have been a sweet spot with just myself and 35 clients where I might have had better balance in my life of time, income, quality of product and service, rather than having 10 trainers. Yes. Effectively making the same money, but looking after so many more people and creating more headaches for myself just for lack of education.
So Mark and Em, I know that I think it's remiss of me not to ask you exactly, for the listeners right now. They're thinking, what are you guys doing? So what is the actual business? What do you guys do?
Great question. So right now we have currently got 19 smoothie bars all across Victoria. Okay. Actually, one of them is in Canada. And, you know, what these smoothie bars are designed to do is have healthy options for people on the go. You know, where do you actually stop and get something that is a well-balanced meal, you know, in a cup that's not like a sugary, I'm not going to name other names, but you know, other options out there. So where do you get like a good quality, clean smoothie, like a meal replacement? And we have energizing teas, we have aloe vera shots, we have little protein snacks. So we are really designed for people to get a good hit of nutrition on the go. But the nutrition's really only one component of it if we're giving away some secrets. You know, it's really about how we make people feel when they are in our space. And we know that, again, taking the lessons from our previous businesses, which was all about relationships, all about customer loyalty, all about creating raving fans, you know, really, I guess, just having people feel a part of your business and what you're creating. We know if we create that space, then the nutrition and what they're receiving is just going to make them feel 10 times better. So our whole really what we share with the team is we just want people to walk out feeling better than when they walked in. And of course, that's going to happen from the nutrition, but we want that to happen from all of our team members as well. So that's kind of what happens, I guess, day-to-day front end. And then back end, when people are ready to talk about their health goals, their fitness goals, their mindset goals, we do have coaching programs in place that we can help them with back end as well.
So you call the franchisees coaches?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so could you explain what that means?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're this is not a new term, but we're huge on customer experience versus customer service. There's a lot of good customer service around, and we've all heard that. For example, actually, I can't give examples. You walk in and you get the hi, nice, how you going, like the surface level stuff. And it's nice and it ticks the boxes. But once they leave your shop, store, whatever it is, they're not thinking about you. Whereas if you give them an experience, they will constantly think about you, be it subconscious or not. And they're more likely to return with people. And that's how your business grows. So we're big on customer experience versus customer service.
Yeah. How does that work tangibly? Like, what is it? What do you see? What is tangible about that when you walk into a Mornington Nutrition or a DLC Nutrition, as an example?
So it's the small things that make the biggest impact for us. So look, feel, smell, volume of music, type of music, how does the place look? So it's just like, I can use this example. It's like when you walk into McDonald's, right? You smell the fries. Yes. When you go to the counter, you order whatever you want, and they say to you, would you like fries with that? Because subconsciously you've been smelling them, that adds to the experience, and then the upgrade takes place, right? So it's the small things, look, feel, sound, volume, tone of your voice, energy that you bring to that interaction with the human being that is standing in front of you.
Remembering their name.
And remembering the name, remembering something that you spoke to them about the last time you had an interaction with them and picking that conversation up again. That might have been their kids, something at school, their pet, their work, the bad day they had, something, so it's really about the acknowledgement of who they are as a human being that'll make them feel a little unique. And then when you send them back out into their world, they feel so much different and so much more positively impact from coming into our smoothie bar.
Yeah, it's just a transaction.
Yeah.
But the coaching side of things is really, we love all of our, club owners. We call them nutrition clubs. And I have to say, it's not technically a franchise. It's very similar, but it's not a franchise, but it's similar.
Yeah.
So when they come on board and get trained with us, we want them to be able to coach people. So versus coming on board and just having no knowledge of what we're serving, how we're serving it, where it fits into someone's day, when they should be having a post-workout smoothie, what would be the right hydration drink of choice. We want them to be educated themselves to then be able to pass on that education to people. So
intolerances and things like that.
There's so much that we have to take into consideration with people's lifestyle these days. So they do first and foremost get trained themselves to be educated on everything.
Yep.
We encourage them to, come and shadow and learn all of these things so that when comes time to coaching their own community and eventually probably some clients with nutrition programs, they're equipped with that. And it comes back to that. I guess we've got quite high standards, Joe.
I can feel that when I go into the stores, right? So everything that you've said, like, it's really interesting that you say that. Like, I'm thinking to myself, everyone knows my name. It's really kind of nice. You can't help but not feel loved, which is a great thing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And then we're glad to hear that, because and that's a philosophy and a culture throughout the group. They might all be called something different. They might all be designed a little bit differently based on the owner. We want to give the owners the flair. No one washes your car like you do, right? So we wanted to give the owner that flair to create their own space.
Yes.
But the experience and the effect of the experience to be consistent across all the smoothie bars. So
you're saying it's not quite a franchise model, but at the same time you're calling the individuals in charge of the various locations owners. So they are business owners in their own right. Is that right?
Yeah, they're business owners in their own right. So the back end systems, the systems of success, the training systems, what works. That's the franchise part where it's done for them. However, unlike a franchise, their shop, their smoothie bar does not need to look like ours. It does not need to be called the same thing as ours. They do not need to pay us a royalty based on their success. We want them to keep the money. Like, it's great that we've opened up 19, 20 bars with another 4 to open in the next handful of weeks and months.
Yes.
But keeping them open is the game.
Yep.
Anybody can open them up, but keeping them open.
And then how does opening new stores actually benefit the broader, your broader business, headquarters?
Yeah. So do you mean financially now?
Yeah, financially, yes. So there's obviously 2 levels, right? So you've probably got your multi-level marketing aspect. And I know that you have you guys use Herbalife, is that right? As part of the product mix?
Yeah, Herbalife Nutrition manufacture the products that goes into a lot of our smoothies. So as the smoothie bars open, as they get busier and more clubs open and more people are reached and more results take place and all that stuff happens. And then the result of that is Herbalife, the manufacturer, will say more distribution of our product has gone out into the marketplace. So all the owners, there's some more income for you, and all of us get paid according. So, you talk about it's more than just the money, and it's true because the income is at the end.
Yes.
Simply the result of the process and the work. So we're really big on understanding and learning to love the process and the work, because if you don't love that, it's going to impact your income at the end of the day.
Well, you've kind of answered my next question, which is really around, like a real strict franchising model. Usually, there needs to be some centralized control around the brand and so on. But where you've actually, if you've got a business owner in a certain location, you're actually allowing them the entrepreneurial spirit to kind of have individuality in a sense, don't you?
Absolutely.
That autonomy is really important for us because important to us. You know,
Yes.
I'm Joe, I'm basically unemployable. Like, tell me what to do, and I'm looking for a way not to do that, right? So it's one of our core values, like give us freedom to innovate. And by the way, like put bumpers on us, mentor us. It's like we want guidance, and we're absolute students, but also don't restrict us to the point where we can't feel that we can stretch our own legs and innovate and maybe come up with an idea or two ourselves within the parameters that the mentor's saying works.
Yes.
So we wanted to pass that on to our owners, really.
And the beautiful part is we still strategize as a group. You know, all of us come together and we develop, okay, what's some ideas for strategies for the second half of this year? And, you know, what are we all going to do when we develop it together? So yes, Mark and I know where we're going long term. We can see the big picture, and we've probably made the most mistakes in our journey so far. So we've got the education to pass on, but it's so great to have all of us come together and innovate, you know, where we're going as a group, which is very, very unique.
Yeah.
As we said before, we both came from, you know, having our own business and being in that sort of more of a lonely type space where you're just hoping that things are going to turn out. But now we've got the combination of the experience and then this fantastic group of leaders. So it's a great combination.
To sum it up, Joe, it's kind of like we're in business for ourselves. Our guys are in business for themselves. They're just not by themselves.
Yes,
you know,
that makes a lot of sense.
That's how it is. Yeah.
You know, and it's like it's super inclusive, because it's not always the case that even business owners collaborate or are inclusive with their own business partners. Let alone you know, others as well, you know, so involved. So I really love that. And I think it's a good segue into like your partnership, both of you, and, you know, what your diverse backgrounds actually bring to the table. What do you think?
I think where we're very lucky is we're both alphas.
Yeah.
But somehow we balance each other out. It's very unique. And even within our own organization of people, there are some couples and they look at us and think, you know, how is their balance? So
how can two alphas coexist most of the time fairly seamlessly?
Yeah.
Most of the time. But on a small occasion.
I'd say 95% of the time, like we're moving in the same directions. You know, but we're like, one of my greatest strengths is I know where I'm weak, and Em's extremely strong in those areas, and maybe vice versa. So there's very little crossover or double handling.
Yes.
That's how we can coexist without the confrontation.
Could you explain that tangibly? Like, what are the things? What are you good at, and what is Em good at?
Yeah.
I think that Mark really is not, even though he might be scared on the inside, he's never afraid to, you know, break through a limit, try something new. He's the first to back himself, and he's also the first to back others. So in terms of being a leader of an organization, his strength is really pivotal to us. He's very good at problem solving. He's very good at critical thinking, and he'll just go, even if it means he creates a mess that needs to be cleaned up, he will go. And I think that that's really crucial to have somebody that, you know, is willing to just and a bit of that has rubbed off on me over the years, which has been great.
Yep.
And then what do you think
So it sounds like, you know, the creator, the kind of disruptor, the kind of the more chaotic, and in a good sense, sort of part of the business. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And then you've got Em, who's very much the nurturer. So she can clean up a lot of the mess that I can a lot of the time create with people, you know, because we're talking human beings here and feelings and emotions and thought processes, and that stays with people. So Em's very nurturing, which creates unbelievable culture. Like, so you can bring people together with vision and inspiration, or you can bring them together with like a nurturing oneness. Em's very good at that. Like I talked about at the beginning of this podcast, the energy, and it's very inclusive. And then also incredibly creative, which is not a strength of mine at all. So I might be able to go straight line and go bull at a gate, like go for it, 100 kilometers an hour. Em's very creative and can think outside of the box. So she'll come up with a new idea. I'm not scared to try it, put us together, and we innovate.
Yeah.
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 That's so cool. That's great. Tell us about the most beneficial aspects that the business has actually had on your personal relationship and vice versa.
Definitely. Look, because of our past businesses, and I guess we went through some financial pain, particularly with
The gym.
the gym.
So, yep.
We lost over $500,000 with that business.
Wow.
And we'd only been together for around 6 months at that time. So we're together for 6 months.
How long ago is this?
This is, so we're talking 10 years ago now.
Okay. Yep.
And 10 to 11 years ago.
So that, I guess, really put us in the quicksand quite early days, and it taught us a lot about how each other handles pressure and really how we could best bring each other through a situation like that. That time of our life is quite blurry, but it also cemented that we were supposed to be doing life together, because if we could get through that, any challenge, we've got quite a few personal challenges going on at the moment. We're going through IVF, but it's like we can get through anything because our relationship was very much built on, I asked for extraordinary, Joe. And from that moment, there has not been one day of cruising. Like, we're either going like, it's ride or die.
Yeah.
So I think that the personal growth of running a business together has made us better as a couple, and it's forced us to really learn how each other communicates, learn how each other's personality types. And, I remember in the very early days, Marc would be out there ferociously washing my car, and I'm inside going, I just want him to come inside and spend time with me and, like, be affectionate. But even our love languages were so different. He's like an acts of service guy, and I'm a quality time person. So once he's washing my car, like, how nice, then you get that feeling, but you don't know, you're talking two different languages, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So then you go and try and put that energy or that disharmony into your business, and it's a direct reflection of whatever's going on at home. So one of the biggest things we always mentor our guys on is that if there's not harmony at home, you're not going to create harmony and success in your business. So it has to start at home. And I think that because of those challenges very early on, we were able to grow together in a compressed period of time. Yeah.
So communication and personalities. And we're not talking about mirroring or any of that sort of stuff. We're talking about like true, authentic. And if both of our needs are met, like once I realized that I did not use the car wash as an example, once I realized that I did not need to go out and wash Em's car because that acts of service did not rank for Em in terms of how much love I was displaying for her, it was great, because I'm like, great, I didn't really want to do it anyway, so now I outsource it.
I'll do something else.
It was really like never assuming and truly understanding how to fulfill and meet the needs of Em. Now that helps both of us meet the needs of our owners, our clients, our consumers.
Yep. So you mentioned obviously IVF, and it's deeply personal and of course challenging. I wonder how you can, when I suppose it's advice to anybody, how you can actually make sure that the business doesn't inhibit the personal side and make things more challenging and more difficult for you. And of course, you're in a community, right? So it's a very challenging and again, deeply personal thing to go through. So how have you handled that? And if you could just make a little bit of a comment around that.
Yeah, for sure. I think if there's one thing, and you can definitely give your take on this, but for me, there's one thing that I've learned. It's like we will always land on our feet. So trust the process. Like we don't need to control the process. We don't need to make assumptions and run away with stories and stress and worry and let our emotions go crazy. Like let's develop the emotional intelligence to go, it's going to work out fine. We always land on our feet. By the way, this is not blind optimism. We will be totally fine. The universe or whatever you believe in will work it out. What we have to do is go through this process. And as the challenge presents itself, we're going to find a way to work through it, work over it. As long as we're together, we're going to be okay. And that's really been certainly my mantra the whole time anyway. And it's going okay so far. So why change it?
Exactly.
And I think that we're very open people, even when we're talking about business, we're talking about life. we're not afraid to pretty much just tell our story to anybody who needs to hear it or wants to hear it, because we just hope that at least by helping one person, we've done our job of being vulnerable. And it's been the same with IVF. You know, from the moment that we hit that roadblock, we knew that our team needed to know that we were going through this, because it was a great opportunity for other leaders to kind of step up a little bit as well. If they knew that, you know, sometimes whoever's like flying at the front of the pack, if that bird just needs to fly off to the side sometimes and rest. And they've been so supportive. I'm very open about my IVF on social media. I think it's a topic that especially business owners, not just business owners, but, you know, women with careers probably really need to have front of mind. We had it front of mind, and then, you know, boom, now the late 30s are here, and it's like, okay, you know, we probably should have thought about some, I guess, protocols or things we could have done 5 years ago. If it was egg freezing, or if it was, you know, not the right time for us to start a family, then what could we have done to, you know, perhaps be in a better position than we are now? But at the same time, we're still true believers that, you know, you go through everything at the right time for a reason. But short summary of that is we've been very open. The team have been fantastic. And it's just, again, we're very transparent. That's kind of how we do life as well.
You're only ever given what you can handle. It mightn't be what you want, but you know, it's what you can handle. And we just keep reminding ourselves of that, and it'll happen. We know it'll happen. We'll start a family and have a family, and everything will be great. We'll look back and you can't see the whole picture when you're in the frame. Right now, we're in the IVF frame. 2, 3, 4 years from now, we'll look back and we'll go, of course that made sense.
It's really, I mean, it's really, you know, highlights to me that leaders need to indicate and show their vulnerability at times. I think there's a real authenticity in being that way. I think the team would understand that something's maybe not quite right or a bit off in certain days or whatever, and it's absolutely amazing that you can actually be authentic and be clear about what's going on in your personal lives. I think that helps a lot, and it helps them to see that
we're human.
We're human. It's not always easy for Emma, because especially if someone's relatively new in any business, or especially in ours, they can look at us and say, oh, it's all right for you. You guys are, you know, where you're at. But we're still absolutely human as well. So I think, it's just been great for culture as well, just for them to be able to look after us a little bit too.
It's a real great segue into a conversation that I've had with other people on this podcast around people's. There's often a gap between people's impression of your perceived financial success and actually what reality is, whether it be you're in a franchise or a different business model. Often people firstly underestimate how much hard work it takes to actually get to that position, but then probably overestimate the level of wealth and the financial success at various points in time. Because on often like duck over water, right? It all looks great on the top, but sometimes there's a lot of challenge underneath. So could you talk to us around that?
Where do we start with that one?
That's a big one, isn't it?
It is a big one. Look, I think I love the fact that we're talking about money, because we talk about money a lot with our team to try and re-educate some of those maybe childhood beliefs or beliefs that we've grown up with from parents or teachers that, like, you know, money's evil or money's like...
I'll give you an example. Like my childhood, and same as yours, like Em and I both grew up, and I only ever saw my parents arguing about income, money, or the lack thereof. So as a kid growing up, my conditioning, my belief system starts to realize that there's confrontation or argument around money. Money's bad, and which is fine when you're growing up until you get to about 16, 17, 18. You realize it's kind of important as an adult, not everything, but I'll come back to that, but it does matter. So then if you've classed money as evil and you pushed it away from you, at the point in time where you feel like you need it or want it, or you need to build it because it matters, then you're going to find it very hard to attract it to you. And then you watch things like, you know, cartoons and movies and Disney and any of that sort of stuff as you're growing up. the wealth person, the wealth representation in all of those things are typically evil. So then that reinforces that belief that you've seen with your own eyes. And then as a kid, you feel and the emotions around it. So it becomes your reality. And then you get to a point where you're 25, you lose $500,000 and you go, yeah, okay, cool. It kind of matters. But because now I had it and I lost it and everything in between, it holds no power.
It holds no power.
It holds no power. It's important, but it does not, I don't give it my personal power. It holds no power over me. However, I acknowledge that it is important. I'm going to respect it. I'm going to create structure for it. I'm going to budget with it. It is important, but it's not my life. It's separate to me and who I am.
It's really neither good nor bad, is it?
It is what it is. At the end of the day, it's ink on paper, reality. That's what it is. And the meaning that we attach to it is where we can get carried away with our behaviors and emotions.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess this is a bit of a segue, but a good one. When we first got together, we realized that we'd both come from that as a background. So, you know, both from broken families as such, and really money was the root of that. So we made a pact that if we're going to build this life together and go into business together, you know, what did that end goal look like? And really for us, it's always been about breaking that cycle of, you know, financial struggle.
The battler's mentality.
But to create a legacy of freedom and an extraordinary life where we could be present parents. We could be at the footy games, being the coach. We could, you know, pick up from school, like all those really important things, as well as having a successful career and, you know, setting up the next generation to have that, I guess, security as best we could. So we knew that was going to require a different level of ourselves and some blood, sweat, and tears in the process. So we've been so strong on that the first couple of years in business, we all know you're not seeing much profit, you're not seeing any freedom, there's late nights, you're missing out on social things. And, you know, I think there was fuel on the fire for us because we just lost $500,000, which was actually an asset now looking back.
That was our biggest advantage.
Because we didn't have a choice but to absolutely work so hard. It was just a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
And we can honestly say that was such a gift. So, you know, in those first few years, I guess now trying to transfer that philosophy into someone that's new with a business or new in our team, find that, you know, without that financial pressure, that it can be hard for somebody to channel that internal drive because, as you said, they're not expecting to have to put in that much work for a little return in the beginning. It just doesn't come natural. But, you know, I guess with mentoring and just providing that right environment, the people that have the desire and the willingness, because we have a lot of people that have desire, but the second key word is the willingness.
And we'll maybe talk on this just for a little bit, if that's okay.
Oh, I think it's great. This is so true.
Like, I want it. I've wanted it forever. I'm going to live an awesome life. I have a desire for more. I want to become a better person. You know, whatever it is, insert your goals there, desire. The willingness then says, I'll do whatever it takes to make that happen. I'll adjust my schedule. I'll change what I eat. I'll change who I hang out with. I'll do what's necessary.
I'll read the books. I'll go to the seminars.
I'll do the work and become the individual that takes enough value to the marketplace that warrants that income that I'm now worthy of. But I've got to grow into that individual. It's just that I'm willing to make the adjustments to who I am as a human being.
Yes.
Change my schedule, change my association if needed. Not saying you have to, but if it's required, maybe it's changing what you eat and how you move. So you need to become a little fitter. Like, I need to become a different individual that takes so much more value out to the marketplace. And when that value goes to the marketplace, the money will circle back to me. But I'm willing to do whatever it takes and become the human being that's worthy of that income that I said I wanted in the beginning.
This is so cool. I'll tell you why it's cool, because in episode 10, when I spoke to Hal Hirschfield from UCLA University, he's a behavioral economist, and he talks about the brain and how it works in terms of in cognitive decisions. He talks about the fact that in order to make decisions in the now, right now, and take action, be willing, right? You really need to be clear on what your future self looks like. You need to understand that person. You need to resonate with that person. You need to connect with that person. And only when you actually really deeply dive into what you look like in 5 years, or what you look like in 10 years, or what the business looks like in detail, can you really care enough to make those decisions now. And that is at a cognitive behavioral level.
Absolutely.
Which is so interesting that it's exactly what you're kind of talking about here.
I'm so glad that there's some science behind it, because we've felt like it's right, but now, like, hearing that, it makes sense, and it felt like it made sense, and it works. So it's just like, who am I becoming here? You know, like, for us to get to the next level, for us to become better in the business that we do, help more people, make more impact, therefore make more income, we need to become leaders, better leaders that are able to handle that size of business. Right now, we're able to handle what we've got. To go to the next level, we need to become the next version of ourselves. And that's going to take some desire to want it. You know, you got to want it, but you've also got to have the willingness to do what's necessary to level up. Mm-hmm. And, you know, a lot of people want it, but they're not willing to do what it takes, or what it takes for them to get to that next level. So desire and willingness for us are very different. We can't teach either. We can teach almost anything else, but desire and willingness, that grit, someone has to bring that to the table.
I think for me, I don't know, but I think when I hear this, I think the willingness side of it is the most challenging part, because the willingness side of it is actually sitting down and practicing scales on your guitar. Even though you've wanted to be a rock guitarist, it's easy enough to be a rock guitarist, right? And be an amazing virtuoso. You have to sit down every day for like hours and hours on end doing boring scales. I mean, that's the point.
That's the willingness. You got it.
Absolutely. And then, you know, you'll have different influences in your life say to you, oh, but you're already working so hard and you've already reached this level and you're already, you know, like, we like you in this box. And that's, you know, again, another whole podcast of working through outside influences, let alone your inside influences, right? Yep. So I forget where we even started, Joe, but I think that, you know, coming back to that willingness and seeing what life looks like we can visualize where our house will be, what the smells will be, what our children will be doing, what it smells like to sit in the, you know, our leather in our car. Yeah. Like, we can feel all of that already. And our job now is to just do the work, the inner work and the outer work, to close that gap between where we are right now and where we're going.
Yep. That's so cool. I mean, I find that the easiest ways of mobilizing my clients to make decisions is to ask these questions about where they need to be in the future. It sounds like, and you know, sometimes you have these very, you have ideal clients where they've already really processed a lot of that information, and then it makes it so much easier for me then to make gives financial advice. So yeah, it's quite incredible, and I'm excited to ask you a little bit about, right, what your values are and how and what are they linked to financial success? Yeah, and what does success mean to you?
Yeah, look, success, and it's an interesting one that we've done a lot of reflection over the last few years, especially as our income has grown. You know, we had to really work on our self-image of, okay, are we worthy of this now? And what does this next chapter look like? Does it align with our values? Our values, you know, has always really been based around being, I guess, good human beings, like really integral. Really, we want to make a difference. We really want to contribute. And we both are driven by growth. You know, if we're stagnant, we're both tired or heavy. We need to be growing and giving, I guess, is really what drives us. So, you know, there's a saying that we always get taught by some of our mentors. It's like, to whom much is given, much is expected. Mm-hmm. So the values of us, I mean, our life is beautiful now just as it is, but we wake up every day and we're like, our responsibility, because we have achieved this level of success, of freedom, choice, health, love, everything. We now have to go and show other people that if they're in that dark hole like we were 10 years ago, yeah, there is a way out. Like, that's our responsibility now, is to pass on the gifts that we were given, the philosophies that we've been given.
Yeah, because at that time when we needed people around us, that were there. So, you know, there's going to be people in our future that will need us to be that individual for them. So another one of our values is like, you can count on us. Like, we are solid. We will say we'll do what we said we were going to do when we said we were going to do it. Like, you can count, and that may come back down to honesty, integrity, authenticity, whatever it is. But anyone in our life just knows that they can count on us, and that might be for some people, too higher expectations or standards or whatever. But there's one thing that I think our group and who we work with and our family and friends would say about both of us. It's just like, they're solid. They will do what they said they were going to do.
Consistent.
When they do it, no matter what. They're reliable. They're loyal. They might be a bit much sometimes, but you want in the corner,
Yeah.
So
it comes with it, right? You can't be completely and utterly growth oriented without being a little bit much at times, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and
good.
we've got there's already little things that we're starting to do for our family, but we've got big plans to make sure that they're all taken care of, and that's extended family as well, friends, and just making sure that we're all having fun in this game of life, having some cool experiences.
It's awesome. I've got a question for both of you, different questions though. Em, what is the one thing you would tell yourself as a 10-year-old? Question without notice, of course.
Yep. No, as a 10-year-old, I would just say, just stop trying to please everyone and just do what you want to do.
Yep.
Nice.
And Mark, what is the one thing that you used to do as a child that got you reprimanded and that is helpful to your business now? And I just picked it on, I don't know why, I have an intuition.
Yeah.
I just picked that question for you, Mark, and I don't know why I did that.
Really interesting, Joe. I was quite a good student.
Okay, good. That's good.
The downside to that, I just wasn't there very often because I was playing sport. You know what I mean? So I used to get reprimanded, I guess, for lack of attendance. However, that has translated into, if I understood the question, in the business, like knowing what you want and going after it no matter what, no matter who says you can't do it or should do it or couldn't do it. It's like, if you want something and you see it for yourself, back yourself and go for it, you'll figure it out along the way. Yes,
makes sense. So what keeps you guys up at night? What's still to do? Further expansion plans, I imagine, and maybe tell us a little bit about the Global Transformations that I was looking at and what that's all about.
What keeps us up at night at the moment is our new puppy.
I saw it had an accident on somebody at some stage.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
yep.
Multiple.
But she's beautiful. But to be honest, we could sit up all night strategizing. We love when you think about the big picture of a business, I think what we've learned is that going right back to the grassroots of the systems and the processes and just making them better on that grassroots level, and then seeing how that can develop into changing the whole ecosystem. Like, what weeds can you pull out? What fertilizer can you sprinkle in to make the whole thing, really vibrant? And so late at night, like last night, as an example, Mark came home from the gym. He does go to the gym quite late at night. And so he comes home and he's just like, oh, I've had this idea. And, I'm winding down, cleaning up a little bit, getting us organized for today. And he comes home and it's like, so I've learned again to just let's just wake up and let's go with this. Because, when he's in that moment and he has that idea, that's when we need to actually digest it. We might park it and pick it up later, but quite often one of us will come alive at night with something creative. When, everyone else goes to sleep, it's like, especially me, the creative stuff comes to life. And so we do get these tiny little, like, just whispers that just drop in. And so we think about our team, we think about who needs our help, we think about ways we can make things better. And then we're usually just looking after the puppy.
Yeah, I think it comes back to our human needs. Like, one of the best things we ever did was 6 human needs test, Tony Robbins, and there's a few versions of it out there where you identify, is it growth, contribution, certainty, uncertainty, love, connection? Like, what are your human needs? And both of us rank very highly in growth and contribution. So we're always on. Like if we're not working in our business, we're working on our business. If we're not working on our business, we're thinking about working on our business, because that growth and that contribution into others, like that lights us up, that re-energizes us.
Sure. So actually integrating the business into your life in a really kind of almost, and I use invasive not in a negative sense, but almost in a really like, it's just so integrated into everything that you do, is actually giving you energy.
Yeah. And therefore we're not looking for balance where we're like, okay, there's our family life, there's our social life, there's our, because I'm like, I don't know how to balance multiple things. What I do know how to do is like superimpose our life and our business life and make it one in the same, and including anyone that's in our social life inside of that, anyone in our family life inside of that, and making it this one experience where we take people along for the ride.
That's interesting.
It's fulfillment versus balance.
Yeah.
So, but one thing I will say as a caveat to that, because we are obsessed. Let's just use that word. We're obsessed. We love what we do. So we're pretty much workaholics. So what we are also very good at, and this came from burning ourselves out multiple times, we're very good at forward planning some little recharge breaks or recharge like activities that we do. As an example, we go for a massage together, sometimes twice a month. It's just a little thing that we do. We'll, make sure we catch up with certain good friends of ours for dinner. We're heading off to Byron Bay next week for a wellness retreat. So we have to forward plan. And I think this is so important for business owners because, especially if you have a family and that life is so busy, right? If we're not forward planning these little recharge breaks, then how do you come up for air? And I know in Byron Bay, because we will be, relaxed and chilled, we're going to get new ideas.
We'll get juiced up. We'll come back with a whole new deal.
But even within our holiday, we've already said, okay, there'll be time for strategy and planning over breakfast, and then there'll be some downtime as well. So I think planning has been the biggest thing that we've learned to do well, because I know people can hear planning and they're like, oh, boring, just like whatever's in my diary. But no, strategically planning, life planning, and the business is amongst that. It's not something that takes away from life. It's actually something that gives to life.
Yeah. And often, I'm glad we had this conversation, because often we talk about business owners and the way that they integrate the business into their lives, and it almost comes off as being unhealthy. But in this case, really the conversation that we've had is, I have a sense that it's really healthy, but it requires a lot of effort around the planning aspects to make sure that it remains so, even though you're obsessed about it and you love what you do, without that planning, that could be burnout big time.
100%, because like if we want to perform, if we want to be high performers and operate at a high performance, like there's certain things you need to do at rest to allow yourself to perform high on an ongoing basis. So, like you got the thoroughbred or you got the Clydesdale, and the Clydesdale just goes at it constantly grinding 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. And eventually I guess it'll get there. Or the thoroughbred will go and run 2 or 3 races, win, be the star of the show, get all the accolades, and then go to the paddock for 2 or 3 weeks and rest and regroup, and then come back out and do another 2 or 3 races. So we're very much, we used to be the Clydesdale, and now we're the thoroughbred.
I think that the freedom and the relief actually comes from some structure. I know that's backwards, but once we have the structure in place, it's like, okay, we move through our structure, including, okay, we both have a personal trainer. We have our meals prepared for us. We have a house cleaner. We have a gardener. Like we have outsourced everything we can possibly outsource, so that we're doing our best job inside of our business and then for each other. And everything else that we can outsource, we have. And of course, that didn't happen at the start of the business. That was something that we set as a goal. Like, okay, the first goal, let's get a house cleaner when we reach this point in the business. And then the second goal, let's both go back to getting a personal trainer. A coach needs a coach. So it's just those little things when we're talking about closing the gap to that life we want to live. These are the little things that are helping us move closer to that picture.
That makes sense.
Joe, before we throw it over to you, like we're busy. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
The difference though is we're busy on our terms. I used to be busy before on everyone else's terms. So there was very little fulfillment with that. Now, like, we're busy because we choose to be busy, because we love the process and it's the pure joy of work. So it's on our terms. So it's not a chore or a nuisance or an interruption. There's no resistance in our busyness today. There used to be a lot of resistance in our busyness before.
And we know why we're doing it.
That's so cool. Busy on my terms. I like that. When I say leaving a legacy, what does it mean to you with respect to the family, the coaches, the broader DLC community? What does that mean, leaving a legacy?
Legacy. I'm gonna just go like on the money thing here, just because it's tangible. I know a lot of people can understand this or potentially relate to it. No money worries for those that don't ever want to worry about money, and that doesn't mean that you have to have a lot of it. That just means that you're not worrying about it.
Yeah.
Because when you don't have it, you think about it all the time. You go to a row. I remember when I used to go out and try to catch up with someone, and I would look at my NetBank app to see if there was any money in my account before I went and got lunch, for example. So for me, money freedom and having no money worries is going out for lunch with whoever I want, whenever I like, and ordering what I feel like at that table without looking at the price. That does not mean I need to be a multi-billionaire.
No.
Although that might happen, it's just having freedom around money and it having no power over me at all. So that legacy and passing that philosophy on for those that want it, I'd love to leave that legacy.
And I guess, finances is one thing. And then also just the kind of humans that we have been in this lifetime. Like, I'd just love someone to say, to mention our names in their story at some point. Emily and Mark, they might have been in my life for a short time or a long time, but they were like a key component to me learning this or me discovering this about myself or my success.
Yeah.
I think that that's the biggest compliment if, your name is mentioned in somebody else's story or testimonial, or, what an honor would that be to make that kind of a difference.
That's on our goals list, actually, have our names mentioned in other people's testimonials around the world, be it indirectly or directly.
Well, I think that's a really good way to close, to be honest, because I feel like the listeners right now would be thinking to themselves, thank you very much, Em and Mark, for actually your contribution to their lives in listening to this particular episode. I think there's been so many insights and so many things that I've taken, and certainly your energy is infectious. I'm excited. I probably after this will go to the gym and pump some iron.
Right.
Just because, but it's been so appreciated. I might actually just finish up on what I usually do, which is your spirit animal, guys. If you had a spirit animal, what would it be?
Well, that's a really good question.
That is a really good question.
I'm going to go with the first thing that comes to my mind, whether it's, whatever, judge away. I'm a lion.
There's been a few lions.
King of the jungle. Our puppy's name's Simba. I love the Lion King. It just resonates with me. So let's go with lion.
But not the Wizard of Oz lion, right? Not the Wizard of Oz.
No, not that one.
What do you think I would be?
That's for you to answer.
I'm going to say I'd probably just be your lioness.
Perfect.
I like that. That was good. That was good.
We'll start our own
Because,
pride.
what's that saying we always say with the neck? The turning of the head.
Oh yeah, I might be the head, Joe, but Em's the neck. She turns whichever way she wants.
So Mark, you started off really well, and Em has closed very well. It's perfect. Yeah. Good on you guys. Appreciate it. I hope that this one was enjoyable to listen to, and there were some moments of value. If you have resonated in any way with the sentiments of this podcast, we would be delighted to direct you to our website, www.itsneveraboutmoney.com.au. for more free resources and education aimed at improving your capacity to make sound financial decisions for the benefit of your family. We wish you every success, however you define it.